Tonight, I want to share something that archaeologists whisper about in university corridors after their students have gone home. You see, scattered across our world, lie discoveries so extraordinary, so fundamentally challenging to our assumptions about ancient peoples, that they've been quietly tucked away in academic journals and museum storage rooms, waiting for someone to connect the dots. These aren't conspiracy theories or alien interventions. They're genuine archaeological marvels that reveal our ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities we've barely begun to understand. What I find most remarkable isn't that these discoveries exist, but that they've remained largely hidden from public consciousness, overshadowed by more familiar narratives about primitive ancient peoples gradually stumbling toward civilization. Tonight, we'll explore 10 archaeological discoveries that should fundamentally change how you think about human history, each one a window into ancient minds far more sophisticated than we've dared to imagine. Let me begin with a story that starts in 1900, when Greek sponge divers working off the coast of Antikythera discovered something that would perplex scientists for over a century. Discovery 1. The Antikythera mechanism, ancient Greece's computer. Picture, if you will, the Mediterranean Sea in 1900. Crystal clear waters revealing shapes that shouldn't exist. Greek sponge divers, their lungs burning as they surfaced, brought with them not just stories of an ancient shipwreck, but fragments of what appeared to be impossibly complex bronze machinery. For decades, this corroded mass of gears and inscriptions sat in the National Archaeological Museum of Athens, dismissed by many as some sort of navigational instrument, until X-ray technology in the 1970s revealed its true nature. The Antikythera mechanism, as it came to be known, is essentially an ancient Greek computer, dating to approximately 100 BCE. Its bronze gears, more than 40 of them intricately connected, were designed to predict the positions of the sun, moon, and planets with startling accuracy. This wasn't mere timekeeping. This was astronomical computation on a scale that wouldn't be seen again until mechanical clocks of the Renaissance, over 15 centuries later. Consider the implications of this single artifact. The ancient Greeks who created it understood gear ratios sophisticated enough to model the elliptical orbit of the moon, accounting for its variable speed as described by what we now call Kepler's second law. They encoded the 235-month Metonic cycle, the 76-year Callippic cycle, and could predict eclipses decades in advance. The mechanism even tracked the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. What haunts me most about the Antikythera mechanism is what it represents. Not an isolated achievement, but evidence of a lost tradition of mechanical engineering. The precision of its construction suggests it wasn't a prototype, but rather the product of a mature technology. Ancient texts reference similar devices. Cicero mentions machines built by Archimedes that showed the motions of celestial bodies. Posidonius describes mechanical models of planetary motion. Yet this single corroded artifact represents our only surviving example. The knowledge required to build such a device would have encompassed advanced mathematics, precise metalworking, astronomical observation spanning generations, and mechanical engineering principles. Yet somehow this entire technological tradition vanished, leaving only literary references and this one miraculous survival to hint at capabilities we never suspected. Discovery 2. The London Hammer, challenging geological time. In 1936, Max and Emma Hahn were walking along Red Creek near London, Texas, when they noticed a piece of wood protruding from a rock formation. What they discovered challenges everything we think we know about the timeline of human tool-making. A hammer with an iron head and wooden handle, embedded in Cretaceous limestone supposedly 100 million years old. Now, let me be clear about what we're examining here. The hammer itself appears unremarkable, a standard claw hammer of the type used in 19th century America. The iron head shows minimal oxidation despite its supposed age, and the wooden handle has partially turned to coal, consistent with extreme geological pressure over time. What makes this discovery extraordinary isn't the hammer's design, but its geological context. The Cretaceous limestone surrounding the hammer contains fossils and mineral deposits consistent with formations from that geological era. Traditional geology would suggest this stone formed when dinosaurs roamed the earth, long before humans existed, let alone developed metallurgy. Yet here we find a clearly manufactured iron tool, seemingly integrated into the rock matrix in a way that suggests it was present during the stone's formation. Several theories attempt to explain this paradox. Some geologists propose that limestone can form much more rapidly than traditionally believed under certain chemical conditions, potentially encasing the hammer in decades rather than millennia. Others suggest the hammer fell into a crevice in existing limestone and was subsequently sealed by mineral deposits. A few bold researchers question whether our understanding of geological timescales might require revision. What troubles the archaeological establishment isn't the hammer itself, but what accepting its authenticity might imply. If human metallurgy extends back millions of years, our entire framework for understanding human development collapses. The hammer remains stored largely out of public view, subjected to periodic testing that has yet to definitively resolve its age or origins. The London hammer represents something profoundly unsettling to conventional archaeology, physical evidence that doesn't fit our carefully constructed timeline of human development. Whether through unknown geological processes or genuinely anomalous origins, it stands as a testament to how much mystery still surrounds the story of human technology. Discovery 3. The Nazca Lines, Messages Written in the Desert. High above the Nazca Desert of Peru, etched into the earth with precision that defies comprehension, lie drawings so massive they remained invisible to human eyes until the age of aviation. The Nazca Lines stretch across 450 square kilometers of plateau, depicting geometric patterns, plants, animals, and mysterious figures that have puzzled researchers since their discovery in the 1920s. What strikes me most about the Nazca Lines isn't their size, though some extend for kilometers, but their mathematical precision. The straight lines maintain their bearing across varied terrain with accuracy that would challenge modern surveyors. The animal geoglyphs, a spider, hummingbird, monkey, and others are rendered with anatomical accuracy and perfect proportions despite being visible only from hundreds of meters above ground. The engineering required to create these lines demonstrates sophisticated understanding of mathematics and surveying. The Nazca people, flourishing between 200 BCE and 700 CE, possessed no known technology for aerial observation, yet they created artworks specifically designed for overhead viewing. Recent research has revealed that many lines align with astronomical events, solstices, equinoxes, and the rising of specific constellations, suggesting they served as a massive astronomical calendar. Consider the spider geoglyph, perhaps the most enigmatic of all. This figure depicts not just any spider, but specifically a member of the genus Riccinulae, a rare arachnid found only in remote Amazon rainforests hundreds of kilometers away. How did the Nazca people know the precise anatomy of a creature they likely never encountered? The spider's most distinctive feature, its unique reproductive organs, is accurately portrayed. Knowledge that wasn't confirmed by modern arachnologists until the 20th century. The creation process itself remains mysterious. The lines were formed by removing iron oxide-coated pebbles to reveal lighter-colored earth beneath. This simple technique created markings that have survived for over a millennium in the desert's stable climate. Yet the precision required to execute such massive designs from ground level suggests either advanced planning techniques or methods of observation we don't understand. Some researchers propose the Nazca people developed primitive hot air balloons, pointing to evidence of controlled fires and textile weaving skills that could have produced balloon materials. Others suggest the lines served shamanic purposes, creating sacred spaces for ritual journeys between earth and sky. What remains undeniable is that the Nazca lines represent a level of planning, mathematical understanding, and cultural coordination that challenges our assumptions about pre-Columbian American civilizations. Discovery 4. The Bygone Pipes, Ancient Plumbing in Remote China. In the desolate mountains of China's Qinghai province, near the shores of Tucson Lake, stand 3 caves containing what might be the world's oldest plumbing system or something far more mysterious. The Bygone Pipes, discovered in the 1990s, consist of dozens of metallic tubes embedded in rock faces and extending into the lake's depths, their purpose and origins completely unknown. The pipes themselves defy easy explanation. Composed primarily of iron oxide with traces of silicon dioxide and calcium oxide, they show evidence of having been manufactured rather than naturally formed. The tubes range from tiny conduits barely wider than a toothpick to substantial pipes large enough for a person to crawl through. Many are found at the mouth of caves carved into pyramid-shaped Mount Bygone, while others extend directly into Tucson Lake's sandy bottom. What makes these pipes particularly intriguing is their apparent age. The surrounding rock formations date back thousands of years, yet the pipes appear to be contemporary with their stone matrix. Local Tibetan legends speak of ancient peoples who possessed advanced technology, describing sky people who built structures in this remote location long before recorded history. Chinese researchers have subjected the pipes to extensive analysis, confirming their artificial nature while remaining baffled by their construction techniques. The metal composition suggests smelting processes, yet the pipe's integration into solid rock implies they were installed during the stone's formation. A geological impossibility unless they're far older than conventional archaeology would allow. The engineering implications are staggering. If these pipes represent an ancient water management system, they demonstrate hydraulic knowledge far advanced for their supposed time period. The pipe's placement suggests they were designed to channel water from the mountain caves to the lake, possibly for irrigation or industrial purposes. Yet no civilization known to archaeology possessed such capabilities in this region during the pipe's apparent age. Alternative theories propose the pipes represent mineral formations created by unique geological processes, Yet their regular shapes and systematic placement argue against natural origins. Some researchers suggest they're remnants of a sophisticated ancient culture that understood metallurgy and hydraulic engineering thousands of years before such knowledge supposedly developed. The Beigong pipes remain largely unstudied by Western archaeology, relegated to the category of anomalous artifacts that don't fit conventional timelines. Yet for those willing to consider their implications, they represent evidence of technological capabilities in ancient China that challenge our understanding of early human development. Discovery 5. The Dropa Stones, Ancient Messages from the Stars. High in the Himalayas, in caves that had remained sealed for thousands of years, Chinese archaeologists in 1938 discovered something that would challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient history. The Dropa stones, hundreds of stone discs covered in microscopic hieroglyphs, tell a story so extraordinary that most academics have dismissed it entirely, despite compelling physical evidence. The expedition, led by archaeologist Chipu Tei, discovered caves containing unusual skeletal remains and 716 stone discs, each about 9 inches in diameter with a hole in the center, resembling ancient phonograph records. The discs were covered in spiral grooves containing tiny hieroglyphic characters, unlike any known ancient writing system. For decades, these artifacts remained untranslated curiosities until Dr. Sung Umnoi of Beijing Academy claimed to have deciphered their meaning in 1962. According to Dr. Sung Umnoi's translation, the hieroglyphs tell the story of the Dropa, beings who crash-landed in the mountains 12,000 years ago. The stones allegedly describe how these visitors from the stars were initially feared by local Ham tribes, but eventually integrated peacefully into the community. The Dropa supposedly brought advanced knowledge of astronomy and technology, teaching local peoples before their eventual extinction. What makes the Dropa stones particularly intriguing is their physical composition. Soviet scientists who examined the discs in the 1960s reported unusual properties. The stones contain high levels of cobalt and other metals, and allegedly produce electrical charges when subjected to certain frequencies. Some researchers claim the discs exhibit anti-gravitational properties, though these reports remain unverified by independent analysis. The skeletal remains found alongside the stones present their own mystery. The bones belonged to individuals approximately 4 feet tall, with disproportionately large skulls characteristics that don't match any known human population in the region. Local legends speak of yellow-skinned peoples who came from the stars and were initially hunted by tribes until communication was established. Skeptics point to the lack of independent verification for many claims about the Dropa stones. Dr. Sum Umnoi's translation has never been confirmed by other linguists, and several of the stones have reportedly disappeared or been destroyed, making modern analysis impossible. The Chinese government has been notably secretive about the artifacts, neither confirming nor denying their significance. Yet elements of the Dropa stone story resist easy dismissal. The cave's location in one of Earth's most remote regions makes hoax creation logistically challenging. The consistent design of hundreds of stone discs suggests organized production rather than random creation. Most compelling, local oral traditions independently corroborate elements of the stone's alleged content, describing ancient visitors with advanced knowledge. Whether representing genuine evidence of extraterrestrial contact or an elaborate archaeological hoax, the Dropa stones highlight how much mystery surrounds human prehistory in remote regions of our world. They remind us that absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, particularly in areas where systematic archaeological exploration remains limited. Discovery 6. The Ica Stones, when humans and dinosaurs coexisted. In the desert near Ica, Peru, local farmers have been discovering carved stones depicting scenes that shouldn't exist. Humans interacting with dinosaurs, advanced medical procedures, and technological devices thousands of years before their supposed invention. The Ica stones represent one of archaeology's most controversial discoveries, challenging fundamental assumptions about human history and prehistoric life. Dr. Javier Cabrera, a Peruvian physician, began collecting these stones in the 1960s after local farmers brought them to his attention. His collection eventually grew to over 15,000 carved andesite stones, ranging from pebble-sized to massive boulders weighing hundreds of pounds. The images carved into these stones tell a story of human civilization far more advanced and ancient than conventional archaeology acknowledges. The stones depict humans riding dinosaurs, performing complex surgical procedures, including heart transplants and brain surgery, using telescopes and other optical instruments, and manipulating what appear to be mechanical devices. Some stones show detailed anatomical knowledge, including accurate representations of internal organ systems and medical procedures that weren't developed until the 20th century. What makes the Ica stones particularly intriguing is their carving technique. The images are etched into the stone surface using methods that would require sophisticated tools. The andesite material is extremely hard, ranking 6.5 on the Mohs scale, making surface carving with primitive tools virtually impossible. Yet the etchings show consistent depth and precision across thousands of stones. Geological analysis has revealed that many stones show evidence of significant age. The patina covering the carved surfaces appears to have developed over centuries or millennia, and sediment deposits found in the grooves suggest long burial periods. Some stones were discovered in archaeological contexts alongside pottery and other artifacts of demonstrable antiquity. Critics argue the stones represent an elaborate hoax created by local farmers to sell to tourists. They point to the anachronistic nature of the imagery. Dinosaurs became extinct millions of years before humans evolved, making coexistence impossible. The sophisticated medical knowledge depicted on the stones wasn't available to ancient peoples, they argue, making the carvings obvious fabrications. Yet several elements resist easy dismissal. The sheer number of stones, over 15,000, would represent an enormous investment of time and effort for potential hoaxers. The consistency of style and subject matter across thousands of artifacts suggests organized production rather than random creation. Most puzzling, some stones depict dinosaur species that weren't scientifically described until decades after their supposed discovery by farmers. Dr. Cabrera's collection includes stones showing detailed anatomy of dinosaur species, including internal organ placement and bone structure that wasn't confirmed by paleontologists until recent decades. How could 20th century Peruvian farmers have known such specific scientific details about creatures they'd never seen? The Ica stones force us to confront uncomfortable questions about human prehistory. If genuine, they suggest either human civilization extends far deeper into the past than we believe, or our understanding of geological time scales requires fundamental revision. If hoaxed, they represent one of archaeology's most elaborate deceptions, raising questions about how we verify artifact authenticity. Discovery 7. The Baghdad Battery. Electricity in Ancient Times. In 1936, while excavating near Baghdad, German archaeologist Wilhelm Knigge discovered artifacts that would challenge our understanding of ancient technology. Clay jars containing copper cylinders and iron rods that appear to function as galvanic cells, potentially generating electric current over 2,000 years before Alessandro Volta invented the battery. The Baghdad Battery, as it came to be known, consists of a terracotta jar about 6 inches tall, containing a copper cylinder sealed with asphalt. Inside the copper cylinder sits an iron rod suspended by an asphalt stopper, preventing direct contact between the iron and copper. When filled with an acidic solution, wine, vinegar, or citrus juice, this arrangement generates approximately 2 volts of electricity through galvanic action. Multiple examples have been discovered in archaeological contexts throughout Mesopotamia, dating from the Parthian period around 250 BCE to 250 CEE. The consistent design across various sites suggests these weren't isolated experiments, but represented knowledge of electrochemical principles that was relatively widespread among ancient craftsmen. But what purpose could electricity have served in the ancient world? The most compelling theory suggests electroplating using electric current to deposit thin layers of gold or silver onto base metals. Several artifacts from the same period show evidence of metal plating so fine and uniform that it would be difficult to achieve without electrical assistance. Ancient texts describe gold and silver objects with characteristics consistent with electroplated surfaces. Experimental archaeology has confirmed the device's functionality. When reconstructed using ancient materials and techniques, the Baghdad batteries produce measurable electric current, sufficient for electroplating applications. The voltage output, while modest by modern standards, proves adequate for depositing metal films onto jewelry and decorative objects. Critics argue the jars served mundane purposes, storing scrolls or holding religious offerings, and their electrical properties are merely coincidental. They point out that no ancient texts explicitly describe electrical phenomena or battery construction, making intentional electrical generation unlikely. Yet the device's sophisticated design argues against accidental electrical properties. The careful selection of dissimilar metals, the insulation provided by asphalt, and the precise spacing of components suggest understanding of electrochemical principles. The multiple examples found across different sites indicate knowledge transmission rather than isolated discovery. The Baghdad battery represents something more troubling to conventional archaeology than mere advanced technology. It suggests ancient peoples understood scientific principles we assume were discovered much later. If Mesopotamian craftsmen could generate electricity, what other knowledge did they possess that has been lost to history? Discovery 8. The crystal skulls. Impossible precision from unknown hands. Perhaps no archaeological mystery generates more controversy than the crystal skulls life-sized. Human skulls carved from single pieces of quartz crystal with precision that appears to exceed even modern manufacturing capabilities. These artifacts found in various locations throughout the Americas, represent either remarkable achievements of ancient craftsmanship or the most sophisticated hoaxes in archaeological history. The most famous example, the Mitchell Hedges skull discovered in Belize in 1927, displays craftsmanship so refined that experts remain baffled by its creation. Carved from a single piece of clear quartz crystal, the skull shows no tool marks or evidence of mechanical cutting. The crystal's optical properties create unusual light effects, and the artifact's proportions exactly match those of an adult human female skull. Hewlett-Packard's Crystal Laboratories, which analyzed the Mitchell Hedges skull in 1970, concluded it would require 300 years of continuous hand polishing to achieve its surface finish. The skull's creators somehow understood quartz crystal's natural axis of growth, carving along crystal planes to prevent fracturing. Modern attempts to replicate such precision using power tools have resulted in crystal destruction. Multiple crystal skulls have surfaced over the decades, each presenting similar manufacturing mysteries. The skulls show no evidence of metal tool marks, suggesting construction techniques unknown to modern archaeology. Some exhibit internal features, carved teeth roots, detailed nasal passages that would be impossible to create without destroying the surrounding crystal structure. Supporters argue the skulls represent pinnacles of ancient American craftsmanship, possibly created by Maya, Aztec, or unknown pre-Columbian cultures. They point to the skull's discovery in archaeological contexts and their similarity to crystal working traditions documented throughout Mesoamerica. Some researchers claim the skulls possess unusual acoustic properties, resonating at frequencies that produce auditory phenomena. Skeptics counter that most crystal skulls appeared in collections without clear archaeological provenance, often purchased from dealers rather than excavated from documented sites. Recent studies using electron microscopy have revealed tool marks on some skulls consistent with modern lapidary equipment, suggesting 19th or 20th century manufacture. Yet several aspects of the crystal skull mystery resist easy dismissal. The Mitchell Hedges skull's optical properties create effects that would require sophisticated understanding of crystal optics. The artifact's weight distribution and balance suggest ergonomic design for ceremonial use. Most puzzling, some skulls' internal features remain unexplainable even with modern manufacturing techniques. Whether representing genuine ancient artifacts or elaborate modern hoaxes, the crystal skulls highlight fundamental questions about human technological capabilities. They force us to consider whether ancient peoples possessed knowledge and skills that conventional archaeology hasn't recognized, or whether our desire to believe in ancient mysteries blinds us to more mundane explanations. Discovery 9. The Ubaid lizardmen, reptilian beings in Mesopotamian culture. Deep in the archaeological record of ancient Mesopotamia lies evidence of beliefs so strange they've been largely ignored by mainstream scholarship. Figurines depicting humanoid beings with distinctly reptilian characteristics. The Ubaid period, dating from 6,500 to 3,800 BCE, produced thousands of these mysterious sculptures found in graves, temples, and domestic contexts throughout modern-day Iraq. The Ubaid figurines show beings with elongated heads, large eyes, and distinctly reptilian features. Many wear elaborate headdresses or crowns, suggesting high status within Ubaid society. The figurines appear in various poses, some holding babies, others in apparent ritual positions, many showing clear sexual characteristics, indicating both male and female representations. What makes these artifacts particularly intriguing is their consistency across time and geographic regions. From the earliest Ubaid settlements to the culture's final phases, the reptilian beings appear with minimal stylistic variation. This consistency suggests they represented established religious or cultural concepts rather than artistic experimentation. The figurines' archaeological contexts provide additional mysteries. Many were discovered in graves, placed alongside the deceased as grave goods. Others were found in domestic shrines, suggesting household veneration. The most elaborate examples come from temple contexts, indicating these beings held significant religious importance in Ubaid cosmology. Conventional archaeology interprets the figurines as representations of gods or supernatural beings from Ubaid mythology. The elongated heads might represent ritual deformation practices or symbolic enhancement of divine attributes. The reptilian features could symbolize connection to chthonic deities associated with water and fertility. Yet alternative interpretations suggest more radical possibilities. Some researchers propose the figurines represent actual beings encountered by ancient Mesopotamians, perhaps a separate hominid species with distinct physical characteristics. The consistency of representation across millennia would support this interpretation, suggesting the figurines depicted real rather than imaginary beings. The Ubaid culture itself presents archaeological puzzles. They possessed sophisticated irrigation technology, developed complex urban centers, and created some of humanity's earliest known writing systems. Their technological achievements suggest advanced understanding of engineering and social organization, making their reptilian figurines all the more enigmatic. Recent genetic research has revealed that modern human populations contain DNA from various archaic hominid species, suggesting our ancestors encountered and interbred with beings that looked significantly different from modern humans. Could the Ubaid figurines represent cultural memory of such encounters, preserved in religious iconography long after the beings themselves disappeared? The reptilian beings of ancient Mesopotamia force us to question our assumptions about early human religious beliefs and possible prehistoric encounters with unknown hominid species. Whether representing mythology or memory, they remind us that human prehistory contains mysteries that conventional archaeology has barely begun to explore. Discovery 10. The Voynich manuscript, medieval text, and unknown language. Our final discovery takes us from ancient worlds to medieval Europe, where in the early 5th-10th century, someone created a manuscript so mysterious it has defied decipherment for over 600 years. The Voynich manuscript, named after the rare book dealer who rediscovered it in 1912, contains 240 pages of unknown script accompanied by bizarre illustrations that seem to depict botanical, astronomical, and biological knowledge unknown to medieval science. The manuscript's text consists of approximately 35,000 words, written in an unknown alphabet and language. Statistical analysis suggests it follows natural language patterns. The character frequency distribution resembles known languages, and the text shows consistent spelling and grammar patterns. Yet despite intensive analysis by cryptographers, linguists, and computer scientists, no one has successfully deciphered even a single sentence. The illustrations prove equally puzzling. The botanical section depicts plants that don't match any known species, though they're drawn with biological accuracy, suggesting the artist understood plant anatomy. The astronomical section shows circular diagrams with text and star-like symbols arranged in patterns that don't correspond to medieval astronomical knowledge. Most mysterious are the biological pages showing nude female figures in green liquid, connected by elaborate plumbing systems. Carbon dating places the manuscript's creation between 1404 and 1438, during the height of medieval scholarship. The parchment, inks, and binding techniques all confirm authentic 5th-10th century construction. Yet the manuscript's content suggests knowledge far advanced for its time period, if indeed it represents knowledge at all rather than elaborate nonsense. Multiple theories attempt to explain the Voynich manuscript's origins. Some scholars propose it represents an unknown European language or dialect, written in a unique script developed by a medieval scholar. Others suggest it's an encrypted text, protecting secret knowledge from religious persecution. A few researchers argue it represents contact with non-European civilizations, possessing advanced botanical or medical knowledge. Modern computer analysis has revealed intriguing patterns in the text. The manuscript shows consistent word length and character combinations that suggest meaningful content rather than random symbols. Certain sections display statistical patterns similar to known languages, while others appear more formulaic, possibly representing recipes or instructions. The manuscript's illustrations provide additional clues to its purpose. The botanical drawings show root systems, flower structures, and seed arrangements that suggest practical herbalism rather than decorative art. The astronomical diagrams include elements that might represent calendrical calculations or astrological computations. The biological figures could depict medical procedures or alchemical processes. Recent research has focused on the manuscript's possible connection to medieval medical knowledge. Some illustrations appear to show pharmaceutical preparations or therapeutic procedures. The unknown plants might represent medicinal species from distant regions, described by travelers or preserved in monastery gardens. The mysterious text could record pharmaceutical formulas or medical instructions in coded form. Whether representing genuine advanced knowledge or elaborate medieval hoax, the Voynich manuscript demonstrates how much mystery surrounds even relatively recent historical periods. It reminds us that human knowledge traditions can vanish completely, leaving behind only tantalizing fragments that resist our best efforts at understanding. As I reflect on these 10 discoveries, a pattern emerges that should fundamentally alter how we understand human history. Each artifact represents not an isolated anomaly, but evidence of knowledge traditions that flourished, vanished, and left behind only fragmentary traces of their existence. From the computational sophistication of the Antikythera mechanism to the linguistic mystery of the Voynich manuscript, we see glimpses of human capabilities that challenge every assumption about our ancestors' supposed primitiveness. What strikes me most profoundly is how these discoveries have been relegated to the margins of historical consciousness. The Antikythera mechanism languished in museum storage for decades before its true nature was recognized. The Baghdad battery remains dismissed by mainstream archaeology despite compelling evidence of intentional electrical generation. The Nazca lines are treated as curiosities rather than evidence of sophisticated astronomical knowledge. This pattern of marginalization reveals something troubling about how we construct historical narratives. We seem more comfortable with stories of gradual human progress than with evidence suggesting knowledge was gained, lost, and regained throughout history. We prefer linear development to the messy reality of civilizational collapse and rediscovery. Yet these hidden discoveries offer a more inspiring vision of human potential. They suggest our ancestors possessed intellectual capabilities and technical knowledge far exceeding what we've credited them with. They lived in societies sophisticated enough to support complex research programs, maintain technical traditions across generations, and achieve feats that required centuries for us to duplicate. The implications extend beyond mere historical revision. If ancient peoples could generate electricity, compute celestial mechanics, and create precision instruments rivaling modern devices, what other knowledge lies buried in archaeological sites around the world? What technical traditions vanished with the destruction of libraries and the fall of civilizations? Perhaps most importantly, these discoveries remind us that human ingenuity isn't unique to our modern era. The same intellectual curiosity that drives today's scientific research motivated ancient astronomers, engineers, and scholars. They looked at their world with the same wonder we experience, asked similar questions about natural phenomena, and developed solutions using available materials and techniques. The true shock of these ancient discoveries isn't that they exist, but that they've remained hidden from popular consciousness for so long. In our museums and storage facilities, in private collections, in academic journals, evidence accumulates of human achievements that should inspire rather than threaten our understanding of the past. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, consider the possibility that human history contains chapters we've barely begun to read. Somewhere in the world, archaeologists are uncovering artifacts that will challenge everything we think we know about our ancestors' capabilities. The next shocking discovery might be happening at this very moment, waiting to remind us once again that human potential has always exceeded our assumptions. These hidden discoveries aren't just archaeological curiosities. They're mirrors reflecting our own capacity for innovation, problem-solving, and creative achievement. They connect us across millennia to minds that grappled with similar questions about existence, purpose, and the nature of reality itself. In recognizing their achievements, we honor both their memory and our own potential for discovery. The most shocking aspect of these ancient discoveries isn't their existence, but how they reveal the arbitrary limits we place on human possibility. Our ancestors weren't primitive beings struggling toward enlightenment. They were creative, intelligent individuals who achieved remarkable things with the resources available to them. Perhaps it's time we stopped being shocked by their capabilities and started learning from their examples. Sleep well, knowing that human ingenuity has always found ways to push beyond perceived limitations. The greatest discoveries may not lie in our future, but in our past, waiting patiently for recognition and understanding. In the morning, the world will look slightly different, not because it has changed, but because you've glimpsed the true depth of human achievement across the ages.